A coq au vin. A coq au vin. Coq au vin. Let's make coq au vin. Okay, chicken stew, chicken and wine. It does have a lot of steps, but each step is facile. So when you see the steps in this short, don't be afraid. You can do each step. They're just a lot of steps. And in the end, you're gonna have a silky, deep, beautiful French-style chicken stew. One of the #1 problems with braises, which is what this is, it's a classic braise, is skimming the fat off the top of your stew. If you serve stew, even American-style stew, and it has a layer of fat, that's gross. Nobody wants to eat that. So refining this is the issue. Whatever meat you're using, in this case it's coq au vin, which is chicken, you want to take away as much of the fat as you can, the excess fat. Some of the fat makes the dish beautiful, some of it makes it hard to skim. So I left a couple of these just to show you. So you see that? That's fat. So I took the skin off, which is very American, but cut that fat off. Just that little string will save me time later. There's a little piece there. Just gonna cut that off. And I'm putting it, as I cut it, in a nice tray lined with a piece of wax paper. There's a little bit there. I'm gonna cut that. Leave some fat, but you don't need all this excess fat, trust me. French people are committing suicide all over the world because I'm doing this, but A, the skin is supposed to be on, and B, you're not supposed to cut the fat away. But anyway, I'm giving you tips to make the perfect, easy coq au vin. And now I'm gonna liberally salt and pepper this. But I'm gonna wash my hands first, even though I wouldn't normally. What the world wants you to do is have a clean hand and a chicken hand. We got a lot of complaints about the chicken hand, which is why I made that snotty comment. Basically, I'm gonna use a glove so everybody can relax. Liberally salt all this chicken. Then I'm gonna turn the chicken and kind of mop up the salt. I mean, you see Gordon Ramsay wearing a glove? I don't think so. Has he ever made anybody sick? I doubt it. That's my last comment. And then I'm gonna liberally salt the other side. I forgot to pepper the first side. So we're gonna have to go back. Yes, I got chicken hands on the top of the pepper mill. Everybody settle down. Once again, I'm gonna sort of mop up like this. Mop up and turn. So the first thing you wanna do is sear this chicken. I do it outside because it makes less mess. Today we're gonna do it on a frying pan. You just wanna color it. You're not cooking it. Color it so that it looks gorgeous in the stew. Dun, 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 dun. That's for the chickens. All right, so we're gonna sear the chicken and we're gonna use a hot pan, olive oil. So we're gonna heat the pan first, literally just for color. So you wanna make it sort of hot and fast, okay? Said the actress to the bishop. All right, little olive oil, woo! And we're going to saute, right? So we had to hear a sound. We have to hear a sound when we touch it in. Otherwise, the pan is not hot enough. So here we go. Do I hear a sound? No, it's not hot enough. Waiting for the pan to be hot enough to cook. We thought it was hot enough, then we took a look. Hear the sound? That's the sound. You're just gonna leave it in there until it's basically brown. You don't really care about cooking it because it's gonna be cooked for 5-6 hours in your stew. So what's the rule about searing something? The mistake people make with fish, with chicken, with meat, with anything, is they try to move it. They wanna move it, they're scared of it burning. You don't wanna move something in a pan until it's easy to move. I mean, it's slightly unfair because it's nonstick. While you're waiting for that beautiful color and crust on your chicken, you're gonna take some pancetta, which looks like this. Just buy 2 slices, don't buy a big piece, you'll waste it. And you're gonna cut it into little squares. This is for the bottom of your coq au vin pan. And we'll come back to this after the chicken has some color. Okay, so this is moving easily. I'm going to turn it over. It has nice color. That's what I want. Okay, a few more minutes like that. No, it's like radio static. Come in. Come in. There's nobody on the line, sir. I'm going to take my paper and turn it over. And I'm going to remove this. Nice coloring. Nice, nice, beautiful. That's all you need, just like that. Then you can set this aside. You're going to do some other stuff first. Good job, little chickens. Now we are going to begin the magic of French chicken stew. And I'm going to begin with the cut up pancetta. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on the bottom of the pan, and I'm going to take the pancetta and drop it in. It's not sizzling, but it will. These guys here, they told me the pot I wanted to use was too high, the sides were too high, and I couldn't shoot in the pot. So they made me use this mammoth pot, and I only have 5 pieces of chicken or something. This pot is too big. Nicholas. Let it sort of fry and get nasty. As we're frying this, I'm going to explain to you what a mirepoix is. People call it mirepoix, which is, it's okay. Onions, carrots, and celery. And you cook this in the bottom of many, many, many French things. Mine is already cut up due to the magic of television. So as this is letting off a little bit of its grease, remember, it doesn't matter how this looks because like that big piece and stuff, it doesn't matter. Woo! Onions. And I'm going to start with the onions when this is really releasing its... Now you guys can use this. You can make vegetable coq au vin. You could, but I would use hard things like potatoes and peas and carrots. God, it would be really good actually. So this is just starting to get ever so slightly brown, but we're going to go ahead and put in the onions, the top part of my mise en place. And there's a few shallots in there because I love shallots. And you're just going to cook this down. It's going to get a little bit serious in here, okay? You're going to go on instinct. You're making the soul of your stew. Does it need salt? I don't know. Put a little salt. Ah, be French. Je ne sais pas, right? I had a French dirty weekend once. It should have been a one-night stand, but unfortunately it was a few days long. And the guy did this amazing thing, not that, where he, you know when we go, home, 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 when we imitate French people, they do that for English. It's like we go, oh, and he did their version, and it was amazing. It totally sounded like English. It was the most amazing thing, basically, about the guy. You know what I mean. Okay, that's translucent. I'm now going to dump the rest of my mirepoix into the pan. I wash carrots very carefully, but I do not remove the skin for things like this because the skin actually has a lot of the carrot flavor. Peeling them takes away a little bit of that flavor. Okay, you're going to let that cook down for a few minutes on sort of medium-high heat until these get kind of soft. I'm going to taste one. Needs a little salt. You know how we always say on the show, if it tastes good while you're cooking it, you're probably guaranteed it's going to taste good when it's cooked. Always a good rule of thumb. Okay, we're going to do a very traditional continuation of basically Julia Child's, but a French recipe for this coq au vin. And we are going to sprinkle some flour onto this and then toast the flour. Just trust me, it works. So I'm just going to go like this, essentially covering it with flour. Stir this around, and it's going to burn a little bit, which is okay. And everything should be covered in flour like they're like those weird candies that nobody likes. What are they called? Turkish Delight. You see the bottom is quite dry and almost pasty. The next thing we're going to do is flambe. And you can use cognac, bourbon, whiskey. I have a bottle of Hennessy. so which is cognac, and I'm going to flambe it twice. Why twice? Because twice is nice. Don't be scared to flambe. Nothing bad's going to happen to you. If you're in a shallower pan, which the crew wanted me to use, even shallower than this one, you can tip the pan and the flame will catch the fumes. But that's not going to happen here, so I have my fire stick. I'm going to liberally pour in Hennessy, and then I'm going to quickly flambe. See that? Don't be scared. You have to move it around because make sure it's all burned off before you, yeah, see that? It's all burned. Keep that going, and we're gonna flambe again. Okay? Perfect, guys. You can tip it so that all of the alcohol catches. However, it doesn't really matter if you have raw alcohol in here because it's gonna cook for hours. I don't know how to explain it to you, but the cognac and the flambe like deepens that bad attitude that this thing has. So it looks like that. You might be getting a little bit spooked about the bottom. Don't be. Now you're gonna take some tomato paste. I bought this, which is hysterical. It's actually really convenient and awesome. It's a tube of Leonard. What is it? You don't like the tomato paste? And I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. Okay. Put this in, kind of squirt it all around. And now you're gonna have something that looks a little bit scary because it's very thick and dark and weird. Trust me, you're doing the right thing here. I'm gonna mix that in. Okay, I'm gonna mix that up a little bit. Now I'm gonna deglaze with some wine, and I'm gonna push the bottom a little bit. Here's the deal with the wine. What wine do I use? Don't use wine that you wouldn't drink, bottom line. So using cheap wine for this is a bad idea, or wine that you wouldn't normally drink. So I'm kind of scraping the bottom. I'm not worrying about it too much. This is a beautiful beginning. And I'm gonna place the chicken into the pan, sort of nestling it in like this. This chicken juice you can pour in too, it's okay. It's gonna cook for hours. So this is a braise. What does a braise mean? A braise does not mean a boil. And a braise does not mean lukewarm, tepid, flaccid water. It's a very specific small bubble. It's not boiling, but it's not boiling. So we're gonna pour in liquid. And the liquid we're using is red wine that you would drink. And you want your chicken to be almost submerged. So that's a little bit too visible. So I'm going to use this incredible Spanish chicken stock that I bought at Netto. This stuff is amazing. And I'm gonna pour in the chicken stock until the chicken is almost underwater. Okay, that's good. I really recommend this. First of all, it's free range. Now we all know pastured is better than free range, but free range is good. And the ingredients are really good. It has a beautiful aroma and it's not that salty. It's just a good product. I got it from Murray's Cheese. It doesn't have a price on it, and I was in a rush. So for all I know, it's like $15 probably. Just on instinct, even though it's going to massively thicken anyway, I feel like it needs a little more tomato paste. I've made a lot of braises, so I get the vibe that it needs a little more. So I'm going to put 2 blobs back in. And then I'm going to bring this to the only time it's going to boil, which is right now. I'm gonna let it boil. I'm gonna mash up the tomato paste. You can make this with any kind of wine. It's very different if you make it with white wine. And there's also Cocoa Riesling, Cocoa Montrachet. I don't know why you would do that, because it's a waste of Montrachet. But you can essentially change this up. You can put more onions. You can put spring onions in it to make it green with the white wine. You can play with this once you sort of understand the basic mirepoix, flour, flambe, tomato paste, chicken, or whatever, liquid. Okay, now it's boiling, and I'm gonna cover it, and it's gonna go to sleep for, honestly, 3 to 6 hours. Good night, my friend. We love you. We turn this down to low, and we go away. Listen to me very carefully, because this is the secret. As your coq au vin has been braising, it has released fat. The light orange that you see is fat. The entire time you're cooking, you want to take a spoon and skim off the fat. And this makes for a very refined coq au vin. It tends to gather on the edges, and you're just going to skim the fat like that. If it's boiling quite aggressively, sometimes it's easier to see because the fat will go to the center. I'm going to add a little bit of chicken stock here. And I'm going to turn it up so that it boils a little bit. You can see it. Look at that chicken falling off the bone. So I'm looking. See right there? See that little island? Okay. Skim that island off. Another thing you can do is run a piece of bread across the top of it, and it will pick up the fat globules. So this is the time-consuming part. You watch TV, you have a glass of wine, and every now and again you go over here and you take off the fat. So then at the end of your day, you want to take this pot and put it in the refrigerator overnight because it will A, get better, and B, the fat will solidify. And in the morning, it's really easy to get it off. Okay, so through the magic of television, I happen to have a coq au vin that's been in the fridge overnight. Now this one is somewhat refined. A little bit of fat on this one, but not very much. What I'm going to point out to you is like that. So anything that's orange, I'm going to take off. I'm just taking a cursory skim around the edge because it tends to go to the edges. I'm looking. I'm happy with that for now. So now I'm going to turn this up a little bit. I'm going to put a little more liquid in here because why not? And I'm going to move it around. It's been in the fridge. See that? There's fat right there. So I'm going to go in and get it. So we're just going to bring this back up to heat. And then after this step, essentially you can do whatever you want with it. You can heat it all day. You can turn off the heat and put the heat back on when your guests come. You can put it in the fridge for a week. It's indestructible now. But we're going to heat this back up to get some boil going. Looks good. Put a little more liquid and wait for this to boil. Traditionally, this is, you strain this, and we are going to strain it because I'm going to show you how hard it is to strain it. That takes out the mirepoix that's in the bottom that you used at 3,000 years ago when you started this thing. You can leave that in and then it's country style, okay? But you're supposed to strain it and take the mirepoix out. You might want to think now about like, what am I going to serve this with? Some people just like to eat it out of the pot. Some people like to just take pieces of chicken and serve it with whatever other dish they've made. You can serve it on top of egg noodles, like something like that. So don't cook these until you see all your guests, and these take a very short time, whatever you buy, just look at the instructions. You can also serve it with rice, but I like the egg noodles, so I think egg noodles are good. So we're gonna do the straining. I mean, what are you gonna do? Okay, so it's unnecessary, but it also makes it more traditionally gorgeous. The first thing I'm going to do is very carefully remove our chicken. Now this is going to be falling apart, so be careful with it. And you're going to get a little bit of your mirepoix in these tongs because it's impossible not to. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. Also, your hands get burned and stuff. Like my hands are burning right now, okay? You don't want to lose any of this liquid. So I'm sort of pushing it through the strainer. You know, they don't need to see this. I would do this before. I mean, look, it's a wreck. It wrecks everything. So, all right, that's now, quote, garbage. I'm just going to wipe this really quickly because it does have fat in the bottom and on the sides from when it was resting. Here's your liquor. And now I'm going to pour this refined liquor back in, and I'm going to place the chicken back in. So this is an unnecessary step that just makes it extra fancy. So if you can do this, if you can get this so that you are good at this, people will ask for this all the time. You can serve this traditionally with quartered baby bell mushrooms that you just fry in a pan real quick, and before you serve, you put them in. The reason you don't cook it in there is they'll just disintegrate, so you cook them at the last minute and add them. You can do the same thing with pearl onions. Cook them in a little bit of butter, and add them right before you serve. And then you cut a little parsley, like I said, and your friends are gonna freak out. Coq au vin, French stew, chicken stew. I'd like you to pronounce it coq au vin. So I want you to say, I've made this very special Scottish dish called coq au vin, okay? Because I think it's hilarious. Coq au vin, superb, magnificent, glorious, holiday or not, the best. Coq au vin. What the world wants you to do is have a clean hand and a chicken hand.